Welcome back, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How you doing?
How you doing? We're doing good today.
We are. I'm Cyndi.
And I'm Paige.
And this is Mom's the Word, where mom knows best.
Or at least she is trying her best.
And we are on our second Father's Day edition.
That's right.
And we have a very special guest today, you guys.
It's my husband. Hello, honey.
Hey there.
Everyone, this is my husband, Mark.
This is Mark.
Hey guys.
Welcome to the podcast, honey. Are you nervous?
It's just interesting, the microphones and everything.
It's an interesting setup. I did tell him to wear pajamas. It has slipped his mind. He said I did not. So
He said this is kind of pajama.
Nice button up here. There's no need for that.
He's like, I don't sleep in pajamas.
I know.
That's all right. That's all right.
You don't want me to be in my pajamas. That's
For Paige's eyes only.
And sometimes our kids, our teenagers,
with
the
no
poor
shirt.
souls. Boys are so gross. They torture each other. Once they hit teenage years, the dad and the teens it's constant ass showing. It's like who could moon each other more. It's ridiculous. Oh Lord.
Mark. Great. Something to look forward to.
Yeah. At least with my kids.
Oh my God.
How many kids do we have, honey?
4.
We have 4 children.
Yeah.
That's right. Do you want to talk about your fatherhood journey?
Hey, you've been a dad a long time, Mark.
My fatherhood journey.
Yeah, you've been a dad a long time. How old's your oldest?
18.
That's a long time.
18.
I guess that's true.
Yes.
I really want to talk about that too because you were young whenever you had Dylan. You weren't like extremely old anyways.
Correct. I felt younger than I probably was.
Mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you
wasn't
were
ready.
sheltered a lot whenever you were younger?
Probably.
If you guys are not watching this on YouTube, Mark's facial expressions are great.
Probably.
How old were you when you had Dylan?
26
Okay.
Yeah.
ish. Yeah.
Ish.
Do you want to talk about what happened?
Yeah. I've only heard a little bit. So when Dylan was born, he had some complications,
Yes,
right?
He had a TAPVR syndrome, which is fairly rare heart defect, which they were able to fix, but then
With open heart
was-
surgery.
He had open heart surgery. They had him in the hospital. Originally had him in the hospital. They thought it was something with his lungs. They couldn't figure it out. They almost let him go, and they're like, no. And then finally, it was actually Azita who was like, can you give him an EKG? And they were like, no, he's fine. He's fine. And then finally, one of the doctors was like, no, that's actually a good idea. And they did that. And like 10 minutes later,
Oh my gosh.
all these people were rushing around, and it was very terrifying. I mean,
Oh, I can't
these people
imagine.
were rushing
Yeah.
around. There was like a helicopter,
Yeah.
and they were rushing him to the Beverly Hills hospital and it was intense. And then I remember, just being there for like a month, it seemed like. And I remember there was some actor that was there, and we'd always like nod to each other because we were like, our kids were going through the same thing. He was like a kind of famous actor guy. And
You don't even know who
like,
it was.
I was like, hey, and it was just, I don't know. I just remember that anyway. And we were in the hospital, and he, in the post-op, he had another traumatic thing, and he had something in his neck. It was a calcium drip in his neck, and then that happened, and he was like turning white.
Oh my gosh.
And the doctor at first was like, oh, he just takes after his dad. Ha ha, he's just pale.
Azita is Persian, so she is a more brown complexion.
Yeah.
And Mark, if you have not ever seen my husband, is a red-headed pale man.
Yes.
So he's very pale. So the doctor was like, oh, he just looks like his dad.
Okay.
And he was
Right.
actually losing oxygen.
Oh my gosh.
So he almost died.
So
in the
2 times the
post-op.
doctors.
He basically 2 times almost died.
In the first few weeks of his life.
So
That's
that
so
was
scary.
That was super fun.
He actually has a large scar on his neck from the calcium drip and it happening.
So a
And now
calcium
he's
drip is blood, right?
6'2".
Like losing blood, or you don't know that?
I'm
the calcium
personally not
drip was
aware.
actually, it was weird because I think they were trying, I think he was so small. Typically, it's like a drip that they would put in your wrist.
Okay.
And they couldn't find a vein, so they had it in his
Ah.
neck, which I don't know. I think it was somewhat questionable. I don't know that they should have had it in his neck. But basically, it was, instead of going straight into the vein, it was dripping into his actual flesh, and it was acidic. And so it was like, basically, it was like acid
Burning.
It was like acid burning his flesh. And he was trying to cry out in pain, but he couldn't because there was a tube down his throat. And we saw it and we're like, dude, he doesn't look comfortable. And they're like, oh, he's fine. And then finally, one of the nurses, was a male nurse, was like, no, we need to check on this. So they
God,
kinda
I have
blew
the
us
chills.
off. I mean, we were young too, so they
Yeah.
kind of blew us off, and then we're like, "Are you?" And then we kind of
And it's their first child.
Yeah.
there was a
you don't know.
large. I remember there was a large male nurse. He was like an angel, and he was on top of it, and kind of And then a bunch of people rushed in again and did the whole thing again, like, get out, get out. I mean, it was like twice where it was like, oh, he's fine. And then never mind, get out. And like 20 people rushing to like save his life. I mean, that happened twice basically. It was
Thank
like-
goodness, because it sounds to me like nobody was listening or paying attention, almost like malpractice for that second one. That's terrifying.
Which,
They did sue the hospital and win.
well, we don't have to get into all that, do we?
I mean, you advocated for
I
your
know,
child.
I advocate for my child, but yeah, I mean, in general, I
Scary.
think.
So your first child, you went through some traumatic events.
Yeah. Oh, and this was not a planned child. This was having. I mean, I was like, woo, living by the beach and like doing like extra work on film sets and having fun and
Yeah.
like woo, living in LA, like summer camp. And then it was like,
Baby.
you have a medically compromised child to take care of. And it was. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot at that age. It overwhelmed me for sure.
Yeah.
But
And
I
then you
learned a
had
lot.
Vance. And then you advance.
And then I had Vance right after.
They're 11 months
and
apart.
so
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
I'm sorry. They're 13 months apart.
14.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, very close,
Very
in,
close
age.
in age.
After you just had a traumatic event, because I'm sure that Dylan was in the hospital for a while, right?
Yes.
about a month.
About a month.
Still, that's so traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine. And then Vance, though, he didn't have any kind of.
He was just feisty as hell.
Yeah.
That second one came out like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of had a rivalry. They've gotten along for many years now, but when they were little, there was definitely
Oh, that
the
close
rivalry.
age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you lived in LA. Y'all were still in LA at that point?
No, we had moved back to Dallas with Vance.
When you had Vance, you moved back.
Mark was an aspiring actor / comedian. And then,
Oh, I know about
mean,
comedian, but not actor.
oh yeah, no, he was
I
in
was
Herbie
kind of
Fully
in a-
Unloaded. Yeah, Herb. Yes, and
I was on the
House.
track team in Fat Albert. I was guy.
Why do I
in the
not know
elevator.
this?
I was guy in the elevator.
We need to enter
in
a
Good
clip of Mark in
Company.
these.
I was.
What?
Yes.
Dude, I was.
Yes.
I did extra work. Yeah, I wore.
I do not know this.
I wore a SWAT uniform and some like straight to sci-fi movie. I remember hanging out with I can't even remember his name, but the evil coach from Karate Kid.
Can you spot yourself in the movies?
There's
Yes.
like one.
I need to see it.
I was in a Budweiser commercial, and it was a Budweiser commercial for like the troops in the Super Bowl. It was a Super Bowl commercial, and they showed me for like 2 seconds and then blurred it. And I
Oh
tried
my
to get
gosh.
a SAG card, and they said you have to be for 3 seconds, and you were 2.5 seconds.
Oh my
and so I
gosh.
didn't get a union card. And I was so sad. I was like, really, guys?
I didn't
Oh, yeah.
even
I have
know
some
that
funny
about
stories.
Mark.
I remember I was in Deadwood. I had to wear a bunch of makeup, and then there was Carnival. These are, I don't know if you guys know this stuff now, you youngins, but these HBO shows that were coming out. I remember I was like I was in the cavalry in like Deadwood. I wore like a Union soldier outfit, and then in Carnival I was like one of the villagers, and
That's pretty
it
cool.
was fun. It was a blast.
You were an
I remember
actor.
hanging out with Lindsay. I remember Lindsay Lohan. I didn't meet Lindsay Lohan, but like I remember hanging out with her double, and then the other guy. I don't remember who else was in the movies. Doubles. Like we were just like hanging out with
You
the
got
doubles
close.
I was like the crew. Like I just remember getting snacks with the doubles and stuff. Longest yard. I remember I hung out with some of the football players.
Oh my
and
gosh.
We tried to play pickup basketball with Adam Sandler. And me and my buddy on the crew, and they said he would play with you. He loves basketball, but he got hurt on 50 First Dates. He got his lip cut, so we can't let him play pickup anymore with the crew. So we were so sad, but we almost got to play pickup with Sandler.
So then how did you become a dentist? that dream went out.
I had 2 kids to feed, and I was like, oh, crackies.
Yeah, Mark is
Yeah.
very intelligent, like extremely smart. So he was like, all right, I'm just going to be a
stop.
doctor.
You know what? Acting is gone. I'm just going to go get a doctor.
I kind of went from one extreme to the other. It's like, I'm
Literally.
just going to do this like cool job that like who knows where your next paycheck's going to be, to like what's the safest thing possible. But
So you went into dental school at an older age, technically, right? Because you had to have been like 28.
I started dental school when I was 30.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, I was a fun teacher. I think
I think for the 1 year that I did it.
1 year.
I think the kids like me. I don't know if the administration loved me. I would just like talk about random stuff or.
Oh, I totally can see it. I totally can see it.
I was like, here, we got to learn this for this test, and I was like, okay, let's watch this documentary about like water powered cars.
Oh
and,
my gosh.
Like, I don't know, just like we would kind of go off on tangents. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would ask me about LA, and I would tell them stories, and then be like, "Oh, time's up." And
Oh
I'd be like,
my gosh.
I was supposed to teach you about the elements. My bad.
I can totally see
They
that.
know how to make Mr.
Uh-huh.
Sapling
Oh,
go
so-
off
so-
topic.
some of the kids, this was the basic chemistry, obviously, but some of the kids figured it out literally before every test. I would have like a basketball game, like a little Nerf hoop thing. And I would literally ask the exact same questions I was going to ask on the test in the review. And if they got an answer right, they got to take a shot. And if they made the shot, they got extra points or whatever. Well, like 3 or 4, it was only like 3 or 4 of the kids got it. And they're like, you asked the same questions. I was like, I know. I'm trying to hook you guys up. Like, they didn't even get it. They would still fail. I was like, oh my God, you guys.
Oh my gosh. And then so you were raising 2 toddlers during the time that you were going through dental school. Mm-hmm. That's hard. Right? How'd you feel with that?
Long distance.
I went to
Yep.
Houston.
So he's about 6 hours at that point from the Dallas area.
So it was even, I don't know if it was like easier and harder at the same time. It was more emotional because I was away, but then I would have to go on the weekends and help and then come back and then go back. And yeah.
Man, that's got to be tough. But you had to do
And
it
that
because
was-
you had to make money. You had to get a career.
Well, and that was right in the heart of their divorce, too. That's right as they divorced.
You done went through it all, right?
This is-
Getting in there. We're getting all in there.
I mean, it's a part of your parenting journey. So
Oh, no, it's cool.
I mean, you have to divorce her in order to marry me at some point. So you do
We
need
have to
touch
clear,
on that.
what's that, like clear the,
exactly.
Yeah.
to make the new foundation. Yes.
That's a lot.
correct.
Yeah. So he's got 2 kids, one of which he's just found out has autism at that point. That's right whenever Dylan was diagnosed with autism.
How old
And
was he?
then-
He was, but I think we were confused about it until he was even older.
Okay.
We kind of thought, like, we literally got a diagnosis when I remember when he was a little bit old, we had been told that, but it was like, oh, he was having issues and starting to have issues in like kindergarten. More so about threatening to hurt himself.
Okay.
He never threatened, and honestly, we would get the funniest reports because this lady, she was so sweet at his elementary school, and she was kind of the head of the learning department. And she would just tell us these funny stories. I mean, I don't know if we need to edit, but he would be like, she's like, yeah, I mean, I'm used to kids getting angry, but he's so creative. Like, he said he would get a construction truck and back it into my house and destroy it because I was a motherfucker. Like, he would like, and he'd be like,
At
I'm
5
gonna
years
come, like,
old?
shit on your family. Like, she would like tell us the funniest stuff, and she's like, I'm trying not to laugh, but he's like so funny, and I know he means well. He's like a good kid, but he gets angry.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never heard a kid be so creative with their
Their
anger.
insults.
With their insults. Just like, it's just like we write them, like they would write them down, and like she had a notebook of the stuff he said.
And you're like, they were probably thinking like, I mean, it's really creative, but it's not normal for
Yeah.
him to do that.
And he had been misdiagnosed too. So he had the initial
I told
autism
you it was
and
like
then there
ADD,
was
OCD,
everything.
Tourette's. And
Oh,
then
wow.
finally someone was like, yeah, he basically is autistic. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
They tried to give like 10 different diagnoses and it was just like, yeah, it's kind of all under the umbrella.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard because he was very verbal.
Okay.
But he would just get very upset. So I remember even when he was little, we're like, not jokes, but it was like when he was little, we're like, oh, is he like bipolar or something? Because one minute he's happy, and the next minute he's sad. And like we were like, oh, what's? And it was kind of like cute sometimes, but then sometimes like, wait, what's like? Okay, he's getting like, and it's hard when it's your first baby. You don't know how babies are. But
you
then
don't.
when you have other children, it's like, oh, the difference is he's really sweet, but he can't snap out of it sometimes.
Yeah.
That was, I think, when the cue.
Can't turn it off.
He can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, once you had that diagnosis for him, did things get to me like you
Much
started
easier.
really? Yeah, you started
So
to
I had a good
understand.
friend who, and this was when he was a little bit older. And again, his elementary school was really good, but this school would cost a lot. It would be very difficult because we were all trying to work and whatever. And
Right.
they'd be like, hey, you need to come get him. Hey, you need to come get him. Or he's doing it. And it's like, it wasn't like he was, again, it was mostly him. I remember one time he had scissors and he was threatening to cut himself, like different things. Like it was always self-harm. Like the kids always liked him. And I think he didn't really get picked on because I think when you're like 6, 7 years old and you're telling the teacher to go fuck themselves, the other kids are like, damn, dude, I'm not messing with this kid. Like, I mean, he would like stand up and like, so I mean, he wasn't picked on. He was a big kid and he was sweet though. He was sweet to all the kids. Yeah. I think there were some kids I think that tried to take advantage of him to get like, they would just ask him for lunch money, sweet, not like, but he wasn't bullied. It was more like they knew they could get like on his soft side, manipulate him. Yeah. But anyway, to answer the question about, so I remember we had a PTA or like a meeting about him, and a good friend of mine that I grew up with, his wife had knowledge. She was actually in the field of learning disability education, like knew the like rules and stuff. So like the first time we went in, it was kind of like, well, it was more kind of pointed at us, like, what are you guys going to do? And then she told me all these like codes and all this stuff to say. And I basically like kind of overnight, like figured out like all the terms to say and all the things to ask for. And they were kind of like, oh, okay. And then after that, we didn't have any problems.
That's good though. Somebody to help you through it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't, I don't want to, they were sweet to him, but it was definitely like a difference. And like, they're like, oh, like we got to do what, I mean, I don't think they were trying to, but I think they were definitely like a little taken aback with my knowledge of the system, and they're like, "Oh," and he was treated differently after that.
Yeah. Well, you were advocating. They were like, "Well, we got to do what we got to do."
Yeah.
Right. And that's what my thought is. Like, it sucks that not everybody will have that opportunity because they don't have a friend that's
they don't.
there. So
it kind of went from your kid is disruptive and kind of like he needs to learn to be a better kid to, now we have to do all this stuff for him that you didn't realize that we were supposed to do from the beginning. I mean, there was a little bit of that.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's whenever he was in public school. Right?
Yeah.
And then he switched him to private education, which was at a preparatory school for
6th grade, maybe. So like, and the elementary school he went to was a good school. It really was. And he kind of got lucky with this one lady. I don't want to say name, but this one lady in particular, and then she ended up moving away. But it was kind of perfect because he was able to have that through his early education, and then we advocated for him. So he kind of had everything working for him. And then I think I was a little bit nervous about junior high. I mean, and I'm sure he would have been fine, but then when I realized I wanted to get him daily therapy anyway, and there was a school that would kind of do that already, so it wasn't like he had to go to public school and then get therapy after school. He could go to a school that was basically all day therapy and education, which I was even a little, now that he's 18, I'm a little surprised at the stuff he knows, because I'm like, oh, that was like a legit school. Like, I think he took like the LSAT for fun and passed it or something.
No, he didn't just take it for fun and pass it. He literally just took it to see if he knew the answers to the questions and got 11 out of 15 of them correct on the first try. Never having studied it, never having looked at it. And we were like, well, do you want to do this? And he was like, no.
I have a buddy that's on his like 3rd round and he's like failed it twice trying to get, I guess it's the board, anyway, the law board,
the board,
final
the
or
bar.
whatever, but the bar, thank you, sorry, but
he's got a brilliant brain, that's for sure.
He was just Mark Antony in the school play.
Yes, and Julius Caesar, he was Mark Antony, and it was really adorable. It was so cute. He's graduating, y'all. He's a senior.
And
this
Dylan
year.
is huge, you guys. Like, he's tall.
So he looks like he could be like a backup offensive lineman on the Cowboys.
Totally.
And he's like the sweetest guy on the planet.
Teddy bear.
And I remember this story sticks out because I think it was we were shopping at Target or something, and we were just kind of walking around. Everyone's kind of doing their thing, and then I was looking at something intensely. I was like, why is this grown man up on me? And I was like I was like about to turn around and be like, excuse me, sir, like please back away, like personal space. And it was Dylan. I was like, oh, he's like close to me because he's my son. I was like, holy crap. It was the first time I realized he was bigger than me. I was like, oh my God, dude, I thought this grown man was just like weirdly in my space, and it was my own son.
I can imagine on stage.
Oh my God, dude, I guess, I mean, you're a grown up now. He was like 15 at the time. It was like, and I remember even trying to get him to play football, and so he's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I did get him to play soccer, and he was actually really good, but he never wanted to do it again.
Wasn't his thing.
He likes theater.
I can imagine him on stage. How sweet.
He could be an opera singer or like voice. I mean, he has a very deep voice, or not deep, but he's got a very booming voice. Like he has a voice for radio. Like he could. definitely be some kind of.
Definitely.
And it's funny because I always think, Vance is the goofy one, but you always say Dylan's the funny one. And I realize what you mean because he's very clever.
Yes.
He would be a good comedy writer. He comes up with
Yes.
stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Dylan, so Vance is like, our kids are so different. So Vance is like the entertainer. I call him Troy Bolton.
Vance is little
because-
Justin Timberlake, basically.
Well, so Troy Bolton is
what's
the
Troy? I don't know
main
who Troy
guy
Bolton is.
of High School Musical, and he's in theater and basketball.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
That's my child. He's 100%
yeah.
the sports guy, but he's really also very good at theater and loves to do it. Guitar, like creative brain, super creative brain. He likes being the center of attention, and he probably drops 100 jokes in an hour, and like 2 of them will land, right? Like 2 of them are like really good, and the rest of them are like,
You're like, okay, whatever.
buds. But then there's Dylan, who doesn't say anything, and he's kind of more kept to himself, and he's really kind of more private. He'll play video games, but he doesn't really like do it in a big social setting. And he'll say 1 joke an hour, and that'll be the funniest damn joke you have ever heard. And it'll be so clever and so witty, and he wouldn't have even thought about it. It's just like an immediate response.
Well, I think he'll say things about us too. Like, I mean, I won't say, but it's just like he'll say things about you that you're like, I remember last time I laughed so hard because he basically described everyone in the family in like 1 sentence each, and it was so true, but it was like only he could get away with. He was basically like a roast. It was like a gentle roast of the entire family, and everything was true. And I was like, I almost cried. I laughed so hard.
Oh
and I was
my God.
Where did that come from?
He is very funny.
He's so sweet though, because every time I see him in like Juliette's around, he'll be like, Juliette.
Oh,
like he just seems so
his baby
sweet.
siblings. Loves.
They both of the big boys do though.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Vance is reaching the stage of like he's a little too cool for all of us.
Vance more with
But
Juliette.
when he's into it, like I watched him play with
Juliette.
Boston and like go down like the
Dylan?
slide and stuff, like the blow-up slide at the Dallas Stadium. He was super involved with him. And I know he's at the teenager age, but
Yeah,
Good brothers.
girls and friends are more important right now.
Yeah.
I mean, even we're not cool enough for
Yeah.
his attention anymore. Like he
Yeah.
just genuinely has reached that stage where he's like, you know.
we know.
We know.
Yeah,
your pants have gotten big, and you're like, I'm gonna move the hell out. I'm gonna get my own space. I'm gonna do my own thing. My parents ain't gonna tell. He was mad at us. Okay, I want y'all's opinion on this. He was mad at us. Keep in mind, my child's 17. Okay, he's a 17-year-old boy. God love him. It's hard. Okay.
Let's talk about the cute years. No shit.
Yeah, no. So we're giving him curfews.
Mark's like, only
curfew is a
2
new
years.
thing right now. So I said midnight. Midnight to me for a 17-year-old
Yeah,
who's still a
that's
junior in high school.
junior,
We're not talking about a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midnight to me sounds like a pretty reasonable thing. He was like, "Bruh, you're such an op."
Oh yeah. He's like, oh, I'll just ask mommy. She'll just let me get Ubers around town till the middle of the
Oh
night.
my
and I'm like,
gosh.
and I even asked,
Which
she's
is
like,
not
that's
true.
absolutely not true. She was like, on prom night, she said he
The
could
one
have-
day.
Yeah, he could, go stay out.
Situational.
And I mean, if he spends the night with his friends, that's fine. I mean, that's been like that for a while. But we're talking about like hanging out,
Like driving.
Like you're
He's
not going to
driving.
Deep Ellum
Yeah.
like 1 in
He's
the morning,
driving
bro.
now.
You're 17. Calm
Yeah.
down. Like, not that he would go there, but I'm just saying.
He
it's-
told
Midnight
me-
at 17
he
and
hit
junior
me-
is good.
He hit me with the, well, in the state of Texas at 17, I'm an adult.
Yeah, he's trying
Oh,
to be a
no.
lawyer. I'm
I was like,
bro,
oh, are we? That's
cannot.
crazy. We should talk about all the fun things adults get to do, like pay bills. No.
Yeah, I went from being like the center of his universe to like an old friend that you're like, oh, I guess I have to like hang out with you. Like you're cool. I mean, you're my dad, so I'll like, hang out with you a little bit. Like I feel bad. Like he's always like, no, like I remember one weekend it's like he hung out for a couple hours on Sunday because he had plans all weekend with like this new girl he likes, and then his buddies, and then he's like, no, it's cool, Diddums. I mean, if you want me to hang out for a few hours, I understand. I'm like, oh, thanks, buddy. You're so sweet.
That
Like,
makes me
thanks
so
for
sad that my
sacrificing your
kids will
world.
hit that stage one
Yeah.
day.
And it was like 2
One
years
day
ago.
they're
He's
too
like,
cool for
please,
us.
like, let's go hang out.
Yeah.
Like, come on, buddy. And I was
Oh, like 5 years ago, he couldn't have had like more interest in what I was doing. Like would
she was
FaceTime me.
obsessed with Paige to the point where I was like, Vance, I need to hang out with Paige too. Like, you gotta back off.
and now he's like, I don't care about either of y'all.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, go over there.
But guess what? You got 2 more coming up, Mark, that'll be
Yeah.
obsessed with you too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
18 and a
I will
1-year-old.
tell
Oh my
anybody
god.
I will tell
Welcome
anybody
to
with
it.
little kids, invest in them because they're gonna be like your only friends when you're older. So
They're gonna take care of you.
we have new friends now. Like
Well, yeah.
we love hanging out with you guys, but
Yeah.
your friends I mean, even the people it's not like you don't like. It's just like
No,
they
your
fall away,
family
they
core,
move
right?
away,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to be. I mean, you're pretty much at the mercy of being friends with the people that your kids become friends with
yeah.
as parents.
It's
Like,
true.
A lot
It
of times,
is.
unless you have a podcast or something. But
Well, our kids are friends now.
Yep.
yeah, well, that's true.
Itty Bitty and Juliette, they're gonna just
Yeah.
Besties. Fox and Boston.
Come on now.
Besties. It's just they're built in that way.
That's right.
Okay, so we have some questions for you
We
that
do.
we've asked from our
People asked.
community.
Oh God, this sounds scary.
Online. So
No,
I
they
didn't
love you,
show-
Mark. They love you.
I didn't show him any of these, so we'll
Good.
see. We'll see what his answers are.
Okay. Oh, he's losing his headphones.
I have an ear itch. These are killing me. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm an old guy. Okay, you gotta work with me here.
The reason
What
that
the
I'm
heck?
Oh honey. Oh honey.
The age difference of Mark and Paige.
Okay,
People
okay.
ask this all the time. The age difference.
It's 13 years. So
I'm
Mark is 45.
years young.
And how old were you when you met?
26 and 39.
Alrighty. Didn't see that age gap makes more sense at that age.
Yeah. Yeah. And we met at work. A lot of people have asked that, like, how did we meet? We met at work. I was first a lead dental assistant, and then Mark was not there. He was transferred in December of 2017. And
I was forcefully transferred to this place called Denison, Texas. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
what?
so random.
I grew up in Texas and had never heard of Denison. And they sent me out there.
So
I was like,
small,
"Oh, this-"
you
And then I was
guys.
like, wait, this is kind of a cool place. Like, what is this? And then there was this little
Sweet
haughty,
Paige.
sweet little, and I was kind of nervous to be there. And then when Paige was there, I was like, oh, you're the lead assistant. Because when you're a dentist, especially in a bigger practice, the lead assistant is huge. If you don't get along with the lead assistant, it's very difficult because
They can make your life
she kind
hell.
of- yes, they can make your life easier or hellish depending on if they're
they
having
like
a good
you.
day or not. If they like you, yeah. And it's so weird, but it's like you. Yes, you're the dentist, but like they
Yeah.
can do things. They
It's a
can
different-
help or not help as much as they want. Trust me.
Well,
And
she
in
helped.
corporate, it's a different
especially
dynamic
corporate is
too.
a different dynamic. If you have a bad lead assistant as a private doctor, you just get rid of them, get a new one. In corporate, you don't. I mean, you're there. You're
Yeah.
stuck
Right,
there.
right.
You're just
unless
gonna
you
butt
want to
heads.
leave. So anyway, and so,
Paige
I
liked
was
you.
like, oh, this isn't so bad.
And then she was like, I'm a
I remember you
lesbian.
were.
Exactly. In fact,
Sorry, sir.
the doctor before him had said, whenever he was like, he had called the doctor that had worked there previously. He was like, "What am I going to expect?" He was like, "Well, there's this really hot lesbian that works there."
He said, "Be careful," because he. Well, and the funny thing was, I was a little confused because I was like, "She's not. I don't think she's a lesbian," but like.
You
I was like,
can't
she
tell.
seems pretty friendly to me. I mean, not like, but I was like,
No, he actually, and in fact, was standing in the room where we adjust dentures, and he was like, "Yeah, this doc said that there was a lesbian here."
Oh my God.
I was like, "Yeah,
It's me.
that would be me." He was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh my God.
I remember you like had some tattoos, and I was like, you know, you were a hipster,
That's
but I didn't think you were.
tattoos.
I didn't
It's
think you were.
tattoos.
I didn't think you were.
Tattoos.
Which I mean, I didn't care. I just
Does
thought
that
it was,
make
I
her
was just
not a
little
lesbian?
confused. And then you gave me like an extra long hug after like a business happy hour
he was
one
like,
time, and I was like,
she's bisexual now.
I'm sorry. That didn't seem like a
this
very.
is when things have progressed. Though.
we had talked, yeah. it
This is
wasn't-
not
well,
the same. This is
things
not
had-
like some
no.
random hug
Look
where
at
you
them.
just decided I was.
I definitely thought I was in the friend zone at that point, and then you gave me that hug, and I was like,
For him, that hug
I'm a
was
little
important
confused.
right
I was
there.
a
He
little
talks
confused
about this
after that
hug.
hug.
He
I
talks
was
about
definitely
it
a
a
little
lot.
confused after that.
It
hug.
must have really made
It
something.
must have
That
been a
hug.
hug. I remember.
That hug must have been a good
I mean,
one.
I hung on. I just remember hanging on. I wasn't
Jesus.
gonna let go, and she wasn't letting
Woo!
go. Like, you know those hugs where you're like, I guess first one was like chicken. It was
Look
like
at
hug
that. She's
chicken. It was
just
like,
turning-
who's gonna let go first?
She's
and I was like, she
blushing.
ain't letting go. She's kind of pressing up against me.
Oh.
And she's fine with. I mean, she's not. It's not like a Christmas hug. This is like a hey. My body is on your body.
Not a Christmas
and-
hug.
This is not a coworker hug.
Like we're not we're not kissing.
Were you at
but,
work?
No, it was
No.
after work. It was like at a
We had gone
barbecue
to
place or something.
a burger bar.
Burger bar.
Ooh.
with the rest of the employees.
everyone was
we
saying
were,
goodbye.
Get this, we were the cigarette smokers. So we were outside on the back patio smoking.
We have to talk about that.
That's part
I'm a
of who you are.
They
You're
don't
right.
smoke
You're
anymore,
right.
y'all. So
No.
We
of
don't
course
smoke
not.
cigarettes anymore. But there was a time where we did.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It was socially. It was a tough job. It's almost like when you have one of those like crazy jobs, like
It's like you just
in
need
battle
something
and
to
you
cut
just-
the edge.
Y'all, no one's going to judge you for
It's
being a
just-
whole
no,
cigarette
no.
smoker.
You're not smoking crack. I mean, Jesus.
We had a little
These
habit.
days- well, these days, oh my gosh, cigarette smokers are like, yeah.
I'm not one, so I don't know.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
So then what happened after that? Y'all just were like, oh, that was a long hug. Let's
I
go.
guess we were out in the
Let's hug other
patio,
parts.
Yeah. And she just looked up to me. I remember she put her arms around my neck and was like, okay, goodbye. And she was kind of like,
Oh, he's never going to. This was iconic for him,
it
you
was
guys.
like- and I was like, oh shit. Ochre.
Game over from then. It was the hug.
I'm sorry, I'm not a lady, but if you're confused, that's cool with me. I don't.
That's when he knew.
I was like, I didn't think I was in your zone of interest.
He
but-
was so certain he was not in my zone of interest that, in fact, he had told me everything about himself, from like the girls he was hooking up with to like the things like
Girls. You made me sound like
knew-
I was so wild. I wasn't that wild, but
Mark had some
I
ladies.
knew things, right? Because we were just like shooting this shit. We were just friends. He was like, "Oh, this is my lesbian friend. I can talk to her about anything."
I did kind of see you as a bro.
As a bro, I was a bro.
Which was kind of backfired later, but it's cool.
Now you're married to her.
It's like, remember what you told me 6 years ago? And I'm like,
Oh my God. So is that when it flipped for you too? Like you just knew?
Well, okay. I just wanted him to go away. I just was like, who is this guy? I'd met him.
He was funny.
And he was very electric. We had there was chemistry there that was just very undeniable, to the point that it was like magnetic. It was like I would want to be away from him because I was like, he's a guy. And so I was just like not interested. I'd been very hurt by men in my life, and I just didn't really have that yearn for a masculine energy. I'm a masculine energy type of woman. I've said this before. I'm the type of woman that's like not soft. I will tell you to suck more, like I'm not soft. So for me, I felt like it wasn't
very
gonna
soft
work.
inwardly, though.
Oh my God.
Yes. He doesn't mean like that.
Cindy Hoffer. Oh my.
Jay thought it. Jay thought it too.
I mean,
What do you? You're not hard inwardly.
definitely. Yeah.
Well, I think that's for certain people. So
Very luxurious. in
I was.
that sense. I will say.
Oh my God.
Anyways, yeah.
You're very sensitive. You have a very tough exterior. Oh my gosh.
She's emotional.
Yeah, very tough exterior, soft interior.
Oh my God.
Please, for the love of God, stop.
We get it, Mark. We get it.
But yeah, I couldn't
Stay
He was
away.
very funny. He was different than other guys. He was just would talk about topics that didn't feel macho, and it didn't feel like all he cared about was his truck or his Browning bag in the back. I'm from a small town where my dad was a hunting and fishing guide, and if he could have handpicked me a man, it would have been the type that could like cast a rod and reel. So whenever I met Mark, I was just like, there's a different energy here that I'm attracted to. We explored that very, very privately. We started dating in March of 2018. So about 3 months after we met, we started to date. But at that point, I was still the lead assistant, and he was the doctor that worked. It was kind of separated in our corporation the way that it was. It was like he was in a surgical side and I was on the denture side. So we worked together, but not hand in hand. The only time we ever worked hand in hand, he actually came over and was like, "Hey, I need your help with this patient. Just for a second, will you come over here? It'll be no big deal. It'll just be like 5 seconds. I was like, cool. And that patient punched me in the face. So I never went back to help Mark again.
Oh my God.
So that was an interesting thing. But then in June, so about 3 months, I would say, of us being very private, not telling anybody, and it just being an after work secret and us pretending to be just like professional coworkers. In June, I was promoted to office manager. And so that's whenever I was transferred from Denison to Greenville. It's about an hour distance. And so we just continued to be together, but still privately. And then it had to have been April, because then in July, they turned around, they transferred me back to Denison, and I was his direct boss. So
Fun times.
that was.
I mean, I guess everyone already knows this stuff anyway.
for the most part. I mean, some people are new listeners though, and
Well,
they have no
like,
idea.
I mean, it gives a little background.
Yeah, no.
What? What's your thought right
What
now?
are you thinking about, Mark?
On over there?
Nothing.
You have to say it now.
This is just so recent.
How soft
like,
you
I've
are.
been-
Jeez Louise. No, so then we dated privately for about a year, and then we realized we couldn't keep it a secret anymore because we got pregnant with Boston. As someone didn't learn about
Sounds like it.
contraceptives
Sounds like it.
in private school. They don't teach that, I suppose.
Mark's like, next topic, guys.
Somebody asked, one of the questions here said, was it hard starting over after Paige became pregnant with Boston?
Yes.
Yeah, because at that time your kids were older.
I think,
They were 11,
I think at first,
12.
I think at first it was like, man, I made it out. Like I made it out of those tough years, and like, oh wow, the world is ahead of me. The world is my oyster, and then it was like, boom, and so it was terrifying. But I think it started becoming like, oh, we kind of have another chance. Not that, I mean, the first time was great, but I'm just saying like, it was like A, you have another chance, and B, your situation's different now, and then also, once your kids get older, it's like, oh, like I invested in these people that are now like friends for life. So, from a selfish perspective, it's like, oh, this is kind of, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, now, so it also gives you a sense of like, on those tough days, it's like, yeah, they're going to be like 8 or 9 years old soon. Like, they're going to be fun soon. Like, I mean, they're so cute when they're little.
Toddlers
but,
are
like,
hard.
Toddlers are hard.
Babies and toddlers on a relationship, on life is just hard in general.
They're
So I know what you're
cute,
saying.
But it's
Yeah.
like, you know, when you're trying to do 3 different things, you're trying to, you know, just like, you know, pay your bills and fix the light bulb and do this, and there's someone like literally crying and screaming in your face to like, you know, do something. It's, you know, I mean, it's a little tricky.
We all know. Life's
Yeah,
a
I think
baby.
as their parents, you know,
The best thing you'll ever do, but it's the hardest thing we're ever going to do. I just think like you having now 2 grown sons, 17 and 18, that's grown, and 2 babies. So, you know, Boston's almost 5, but still a toddler and a 1-year-old. That's tough.
Was it different for you when Dylan was diagnosed with autism than Boston?
Yes.
How?
Oh God. I think Dylan, it was more confusing and there was a lot of other stuff going on. I think with Boston, it was tough, but it was kind of like, well, I understand this a little bit more, and I already knew he had hearing issues, and he was less verbal, and so it wasn't as big a surprise, but it was more like, I think it was a little surprised because Boston was also so social.
They were so different. Was one
They
of
were
the main
so
things.
different. Dylan would show more emotional swings. Boston was very, very social, and so it was.
Doesn't get elevated. Like if
Yeah.
you leave somewhere, like you
He'll
change
get-
routine, he can get upset, but he doesn't get stuck in it. So
That's why the spectrum's so big, because Dylan and Boston are
Totally
opposites. Yeah.
completely.
One with Boston, I think it would stress me out, or I felt guilt because I was like, okay, the first one seemed like it was kind of a fluke medical, all this. And the second one was like, okay, what's up with me genetically or something? And then I remember a friend said something like this, which is, well, it's maybe not necessarily that something's wrong with you. It's maybe the evolution of humanity. Like, people think differently.
Some people really do
And I was
think
like,
that.
wow,
Really?
it kind of blew
Autism
me
is part of
away.
it.
Really?
Yeah,
it's like
it's
instead of
reference to that
seeing
a
it
lot of
as
times.
instead of seeing it as as something that's to be, you know, because I think with Dylan too, it wasn't as it wasn't as socially, I don't want to say accepted, just understood.
Yeah.
No, I think
So it was
accepted
much
is
more
also
Yeah.
a
like,
good word.
I think it
I
was
agree
much more
too.
like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't, my kid's different. Like it was and it was like I was a new parent, and it was like awkward and like embarrassing. And like second time, it was like, oh yeah, my kid's autistic. Like it was kind of no big deal. And it was a lot different that way, and people understood it, and people talk about it, and there's a lot more awareness, and
Oh, for
I think
sure.
it's.
They're breaking the stigma around.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
they had a joke about it on what is the show I like, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if that's a show that's okay or, but and it was just like funny. Like I mean, it's so people. It's like on different levels, people are openly talking about it, so it's a lot different now.
Well, taking parents like you guys to openly talk about it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's like I felt like I was always having to
Apologize
in public,
for your
it was like,
child.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like in public, he's not like sitting on the thing right, and he's not sitting in line, and he's making a noise when he's not supposed to. And now it's like, yeah, go fuck yourself if you have a problem. It's like,
It's almost like you were having your child have to be in public, and you were apologizing for their actions, where now your child in public should be able to just be themselves, and in public needs to be able to be okay with children of all things.
Yeah.
and sorry, even with non-autistic, I mean, Vance is very hyper like me, and I remember. I don't know if anyway, it's just like, I remember advocating for him too. Like I put him in an after school karate class, and they were saying, and I remember it was like some kid in college. I mean, I don't want to, I feel bad. I don't want to call anyone out, but it's like, they were telling me like, well, your son has been very, he's not sitting still. And I was, and doing his homework, and I was like, I put him in a karate class. Do not have my son sit still in karate class. If he acts up, if he does something wrong, give him 100 push-ups or
100.
or like
make him be
run
active.
around. Like, what are you talking about?
You're literally putting him something to be active.
I mean, I put them in their place. I was like, I literally put him in here so that because I can't pick him up after school, and I'm sending him to your karate class to do karate,
right?
Because I know he's a hyper kid, and like, what are you talking about? So
karate, they teach
definitely
discipline.
learned. So, and I know the discipline, and I respect the discipline, but it's like I've kind of learned to advocate for my kids, but I also know you want them to also learn societal rules and all.
I feel like you've learned to stop apologizing for your kids just being who they are.
Yeah.
And it's even hard for some of us because my son is also very hyper, and I find myself apologizing for that. Like, I'm sorry, that's just, what I do because he's my first child. So now that you've already been through it with 2 children, having Boston, you're just like, this is just my kid, man. Like, get over it, kind of. So, and I do love that because it's hard. Because Paige being a first-time mom, that was probably hard for her. Well, I know it was hard for her to go through.
I think it was a lot harder for her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I would kind of try to comfort her, but yeah, I think for me it's like, I mean, I'm just being real. I mean, I don't know if you can add this out or whatever, but I mean, I definitely, there's a thought, like, what's wrong with me? Like, why do I mean, I had 2.
I think parents go through that. I think it's a valid thing that parents do go through.
Thing that's not normal. But then honestly, we have other friends, and I've seen other kids that are like have severe disabilities, and I'm like, I'm worried about this, which is kind of not even really a disability. It's just kind of a different way of thinking. It's, and then, there's other kids who can't see, can't hear, can't walk. And it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to count your blessings. And I think if you're like, well, my kid isn't the quarterback or the cheerleader, and like, well, it's like, you can't think like that. I mean, who cares? Like, you got to just, and so it definitely teaches you a little more, like, I think, openness and love, potentially, if you can kind of go with it. But I mean,
I think you're right. No, I like listening. People are gonna appreciate you saying that. So, but
you're gonna beat yourself up. I mean, it's different. You're like, what did I,
You blame yourself.
Yeah. Or
You certainly don't look at the child and say, "What's wrong with you?"
No, you're like, "What did I do
What
wrong?"
did I do? Yeah.
When that's not it at all.
Yeah.
And I like how you always put it, and you actually have told me that before when I had spoken about how my son also is hyperactive, and you had said like, well, he just thinks different. And you've spoken with my child, and he he's so creative and he'll come up with things, and you're also, that way. And so like now I see it differently. I'm like, well, no, he just thinks a little different than everybody else does, or at a faster pace. And I really like that.
I mean, you know what they call C&D students who are hyperactive a lot of times? Boss.
True.
So anyway.
Were you worried about your kids liking and getting along with Paige when you first met?
No.
No.
Was I worried about it? No, if anything, I remember being concerned that you met them so quickly, just because I had felt like...
Now, why did I meet them so quickly, Mark? Let's go into that.
That was my fault.
That was his fault.
Think you had
He
saved them.
literally said to me, he was like, come stay the night. And I was like, no, your kids are there. Like, spend time with your kids. He was like, no. They're not going to even wake up until like 10 in the morning. They definitely don't come into my room. Like, they don't do anything like that. Just come stay the night, hang out with me, and then you can slip out in the morning. It'll be no big deal. And I was like, all right, whatever. 7 a.m.
Oh my God.
Hey,
Kicking the door.
Oh.
Who's that? And I was like,
I love that they call you Diddums.
Diddums and
They do.
Peggy.
It's a British, yes.
So
Diddums.
Diddums. And now it's on Bluey. I'd never heard it before, but then there's like a
really?
whole episode where they
That's
call him
funny.
Diddums, so it's really
Yeah.
cute. They've called him that since I met him. But yeah.
So they barged in and said, hello,
Yeah.
we are here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we got up and I think we went and got donuts.
Yeah.
Crazy donuts. that
Good
morning.
times.
I thought like maybe you would feel some more away, which I don't know how many people you dated after Azita, but like the
Dylan told me.
relationship between Paige and Azita.
all that.
Like you weren't...
Dylan actually, in fact, the very first time that
Okay.
we all
Look at
rode in a
that,
car
'cause
together.
oh my
No.
gosh.
First time we ever rode in a car together.
Don't say names.
Dylan is sitting in the background.
names.
And I'm not going to say names. Dylan is
No, we
sitting
would
in
never
the
say
background,
names.
and he goes, back seat, he goes, hey, Diddums, is Peggy going to be your girlfriend for a while, or is she going to be like this one and 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 this one, or like this one? And I was like, oh,
who's that? Who's that?
you've met a couple people, haven't you? And so Dylan ratted him
I
out.
do think I was, yeah.
Were you nervous about it?
Because Dylan's going to tell you how it is, you
Yeah,
guys.
Dylan
Dylan
does
is
not
not sugarcoating
No.
anything.
Yeah.
Mark was like, dang it. No, I think I would be more like, my question is like, there's a lot of people co-parent, and you guys do co-parent very well. Were you afraid of Paige meeting Azita and it being a negative thing? Like, because there's sometimes they can't get along.
My fears were realized and it wasn't that bad, which I knew.
Yeah.
I figured Azita would talk a bunch of shit about me, which she did. I don't know. We all get along now, but I mean, I think it was like, oh God, like I really don't want Paige to get to know, because I know Azita's just going to be.
He was
To be
horrible.
fair, y'all do it to each other. You had done it to her, and she had done it to you, and I was able to.
I will. Paige
figure
has,
out the
Paige
story
has
myself.
Paige has kind of read. She's almost been a diplomat, and it was really amazing how well they could get along.
Yeah.
And with the kids, which I think when I talk to other people or when I say our situation, people are most like, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking in their head, but they're like, wow, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people that I talk to just in their, who have a blended families, or who have, or whether they're younger and they went through it with their parents, or older people with their kids, and they're like, oh wow, I wish I had that.
Yeah,
or
that's important,
man,
for sure.
A lot of people are taken back whenever we're like, oh yeah, we're blended, and this is his ex-wife. They'll be like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, I
And they
think it's
look at us
super
like we're
cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's very confusing. Even like our parents at first, whenever we first started to blend, were like, how modern.
Yeah.
That's what they would
I think
say.
it's really
It's
cool
just
that
so
it happened that
modern.
way, because
Yeah.
it helps you guys be better parents.
Oh, yeah,
So,
heck yeah.
I think it's really cool.
I mean, we're like separately friends
No,
with
yeah.
her brother
Yeah.
and his wife. Like we're separately friends with them. Like
Yeah.
they hang out with us separately, and like
because the kids are the most important thing. They
it's
need to
'cause
see everybody.
It all revolves around the kids. So
Yeah.
there's like her Vance's cousin is kind of, I don't know if he's actually my godson, but I call him
Yeah.
my godson. I don't know if
Yeah.
technically he is, but it's like we know that he knows that he always has a place to stay with us. He's
Yeah.
2 years younger than Vance. I mean, he's fine, but I'm just saying, like,
No, it's
he's
important.
He's like literally part of our, he's almost kind of like a half kid of mine.
Yeah,
Like, I
you,
haven't seen
he's,
that.
he's just a part of you guys. And it's really cool because like even when we go to birthday parties for, let's say, Juliette, who has no connection besides her brothers, obviously, all the other family, Azita's family comes. And I think it's so cool.
And you said you love Auntie Sharzad and like,
Auntie
yeah.
Sharzad.
Yes.
Yes.
So cool.
Anyway.
Yeah, I do love them. They're sweet and they treat me well.
Papa-essie.
So
Yes.
yeah, we do have and it's also fun because I even though I'm Puerto Rican, I'm not very in touch with that side of the culture because my Lita died whenever I was younger. And Mark, God love his little potato loving self, is just sweet and Irish. So, he doesn't have a whole lot of like deeper culture.
Okay.
And Azita does, as she's Persian, they have like traditions and things that they do. And so it's cool that not only for my older boys, they get to see it. Yeah, that's their new year.
That's
Not only do
cool.
my older boys get to see it, they include my younger
Yeah, I
children
love
in that
that
too.
so
And
much.
so it's teaching
Yeah,
them.
I
And as
love
well
that.
as like they get to see like you can respect somebody else's culture and
Yeah.
appreciate their culture by celebrating them
That's right.
in a
That's right.
proper way. So it's just been really interesting for our families. And more than anything, it's been beneficial for our children.
Oh, yeah.
Plus,
I love
I
that.
don't want my younger children to grow up and think of their brother's mother
Their
as
family.
an evil figure,
Yeah.
right? Or
Their
like,
family, our
that's
family.
their family. This is our family.
No.
We're separated. That's just not the way that it is.
Azita has babysat the kids.
Oh, yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Oh, she loves those
Yeah.
babies.
When we went
Yes.
to Vegas, Boston stayed with Azita.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just
It's a great-
It's somebody that we trust.
It's something to really look up to because not a lot of people can have that. So
And
it's
now
really
we're
cool.
planning a graduation party together.
Yes.
In fact, so this Sunday when we're filming this Sunday is Mother's Day, and so for Mother's
Oh,
Day,
can I say that?
Azita and I decided to go to dinner together. Just her and I. We're gonna go to a 12-course sushi dinner. Just us. Mark is gonna stay home with all the children he made.
Happy Mother's Day to
Man,
them.
Happy Mother's Day.
I'm getting it all kinds of ways on Mother's Day, but it's cool.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we'll do one more question with you
Okay.
by yourself, and then we're gonna bring in Jay.
Jay.
Do I stay with Jay or
Yeah.
do I give
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
No,
I
yeah.
can be with Jay. Awesome.
You're gonna stay. Okay. When Paige was dealing with postpartum depression and anxiety, what were some of the ways that you felt you could support her?
What were some of the ways? Foot rubs, back rubs.
Affection.
Just listening.
Affection.
I think affection and just listening. It is confusing. Yeah, it's. I feel like I learned a lot about it. Like I kind of researched it more from a scientific perspective because I think initially when I had children, it was such a different situation. There was a lot of people involved, and I was going to school and working 3 jobs, and there was like other family members in the
Yeah.
picture. It was just a different situation. So this was honestly, I know it sounds weird, but this is kind of my first go around with little kids where it was more just like a normal family situation
Okay.
where it was just like my wife and I in a house with the kids. And
We
so
didn't have a big village.
we didn't have a big village, and also just learning more. I think there's a lot more of emotional and psychological awareness with these things now. I think before it was just like, oh, women, like moms are crazy, you know how it is. There was a lot of that. And now it's like, oh, this is like a real scientific thing. Like, holy shit. And so I think I was probably more sensitive about it than I probably would have been when I was younger.
Yeah.
And just more like looking at it from kind of a scientific perspective, like, okay, what is this? And like how, and like, oh, wow. Like, and even talking to other friends of mine, not saying it, but that had been through the same thing worse. And it was like, oh, and it was like, wait, this Ebony was like, yeah. I'm like, until my kid was 1 or 2. And then all of a sudden, like, she snapped back and everything was fine. But like for a while there, I didn't know what was going on. Like, it's like, oh, this is like a very normal thing. And I think that's one of the things, like with anything you look at, autism or postpartum depression, or these things are, I think the more light that's shed on them, it is easier for people to deal with them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you don't feel so, because I think also moms feel they're all this crazy emotional, their hormone levels are going crazy. They feel this crazy emotional burden and anxiety. I remember you would say things that I was like, oh my God, like that is so sad that you're like, I cannot get this thought of this tragic thing happening. It's replaying in my mind. And I was like, holy shit, I couldn't function if that was the case for me. Or like, I would be watching TV and there'd be like a commercial just where it was like a slightly violent commercial and Paige would start crying and I'm like, oh shit. Like,
and all you could do is just be there for her.
So it was like, I remember at first being like, babe, let me watch my TV. And then I realized like, oh no, she's not being weird. Like she's like, it's like
This is actually
spinning her
yes.
into it, or like, so it'd be like, you know, if anything, you know, any kind of just, oh, this is a historical drama and these villagers are getting murdered, is like, dude, no, turn the channel, like watch sports, or just turn the TV off, or, you know, let's play some gentle, you know, let's play some nice country. Like it was like, and I learned that she liked country a lot, because I think like I learned her safety things, because when I met her, she was more of a rap girl. And then and then once she had a kid, she was more of a country girl. So I learned
her roots came out.
It was like,
I've always been a little hood and a little hippie.
Yeah,
both ways,
no, I mean, she is both, but that side came out of her. I mean, it went from, I'm trying to think of the 2000s, but it definitely went from like Snoop Dogg to Casey Musgraves, you know, pretty quick there. But I mean, you definitely have both sides, but now you're more of a jelly roll where you got both country and rap. But no.
What were some of the first signs that you saw that you were like, something's going on with my wife? Or do you think that it was whenever I came to you and physically said out loud, I'm not okay?
I think both, but I do remember kind of, because I feel like I was probably a little more insensitive about it at first. I do remember definitely reacting to visuals. I remember the TV. I was like, are you serious? Like it'd be like a PG-13 movie, and you'd be like freaking out, or you know, and be like, come on, are you serious? And I was like, oh shit, like, and then I felt bad because at first I was like, what are you talking about? It was stuff that you wouldn't have cared two shits about before, and so I think at first I thought you were just being like controlling, or just like, oh, what, like, why are you?
It's hard
like,
to understand from the outside looking.
Okay,
yeah.
I think also too with like the anxiety of being overwhelmed. I definitely. I mean, I'm still learning this, but I've definitely learned now more with driving around. And I was like, I think I thought you were just being a backseat driver and like trying to control me. And I know we had a couple of tough conversations where you're like, bro, I'm literally terrified. Like I'm on a roller coaster that I don't know if I'm going to be alive at the end. It's not, I trust you. Like, you're like, I know you're a good driver. I know you care about my family. I'm not saying you're a bad driver. This is my own anxiety. It has nothing to do with you. I believe you. I trust you. I know you're a man, and I know you're a good driver. This has nothing to do with you. And I was like, oh, I thought you were just like,
no, it's
just
hard
like,
to understand.
No, I'm just
fucking
scared.
with me or something. It's like, no, I'm
understand.
genuinely scared. And it's like, I get it. I know. And it's like the other cars are scaring me, not you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
I mean, it sounds like you adjusted the way you could. You know, you recognized it.
It was emotional reactions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I tried to process it.
Yeah. You guys are a good yin and yang, though. Like, Paige will be in like a meltdown, and Mark's like, come here, baby. Or he'll walk in with the most random thing ever that breaks up like what's going on in the moment. So it's really good.
When I have myself in a good mindset, I know that I can react to her appropriately.
Yeah.
When I'm already stressed out about my own shit that has nothing to do with her, and she comes out, sometimes when she gets in a space, I take it like she's attacking me.
Right.
And then we've talked about after and been like, okay, I think we were both stressed past our max, and we took it out on each other. And like, I was like, I don't know why we just fought. I don't know.
It's just high emotions.
Sorry. All I know is I'm
Yes.
sorry. I don't really know what was said. I don't know why you're mad at me. I don't know why I'm mad at you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we've
I'm
had,
the type that remembers everything.
yeah,
You're like, well, Mark, this is what it was.
she's got like
Let me
she's got the
list it out
script
for
of
you.
what happened. I'm like, oh shit, I said that.
Instant
Fuck.
replay.
I'm like, I didn't mean it, baby. I was just mad. I didn't know I even said that.
This is a good time to segue away and bring in
Jay. Let's
All
bring
right,
Jay.
Jay. Come on in.
All right, guys, welcome, Daddy Jay.
Daddy Jay.
Hello.
Hello.
There you are.
I'm
sounded like
bringing the
Mrs.
energy these
Doubtfire.
episodes.
Yeah. We need energy.
Oh my god, I love Mrs. Doubtfire.
I do too.
You know that scene, the hello,
on the way, dear.
and the help is on the way. Me and Kyler reference that so much
I love it.
in the movies. I'm loving y'all's episode.
I know. We've learned a lot.
I
Yes.
give myself like an A-. I think I've done pretty good.
B plus. No,
That's fair. I was taking with the curve.
Yeah.
No, so y'all were talking earlier how y'all are kind of opposites, right? Remember you were saying that he would just walk in with something random. So the first time I ever went to
Literally.
Paige's house is when I came onto the podcast, season 1, episode 7, and And Paige was feeling very passionate about a topic, and she was sharing with us.
Oh God, there's no
And-
telling.
No,
Yeah.
this was
No,
when
no.
you were going to discuss
Yes.
about autism.
Well, I didn't want to say. So she was talking about, sharing that.
She was
And
feeling
it was a
brave enough to
very-
share.
Yeah, she
was
was crying.
crying.
Put all that
She
out.
was
Okay, she was
crying.
crying. She was upset. And, we were talking, listening, and trying to comfort her. And then here comes Mark from the kitchen with some, isn't it the bitchin' sauce?
Some some
The
sauce.
bitchin' sauce. He's like, hey, Paige, how are you? Like,
She's
what do you think
crying.
about these sauces? And like, just so random. And Paige is over here crying in her restroom, and he's like, just kind of relaxed. But I like that. I like that because I think, like, if we can look at all of our men, they balance us out, or they're a little bit different from us, right?
Yeah.
If you see, like, that sound, it's like, do you know? Oh, hold on, what is that TikTok sound? It's like,
Jay always has a
you're in
TikTok
rush,
sound. Yeah.
and then it's like la da da da.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
yeah.
So the first part is me.
Spinning like a ballerina.
Yes. So the first one where she's like rushing and it's a Nicki Minaj sound, that's me all the time. Like, and then Kyla's like, lee, lee, lee. And so this is very similar where sometimes
All of us.
I'm, yes. And so,
I know what he's talking about.
yeah, but it's interesting because in that
I have
moment,
no idea.
in that moment, it kind of broke you up a little bit, and
Yeah.
it was able to ease your tension and kind of bring
And she
you
like
down
looks at him.
a
She's
little
like,
bit.
Mark. She always does that. Mark. And then he's like, oh, baby.
I just thought I was just gonna try this. That's
I'm
my
sure
husband.
it's good.
Or like if somebody comes over.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
if
It's
Cindy
my
comes
favorite
over,
thing.
He won't even say hello. He'll just be like, Cindy, I've had this thing I've been meaning to talk to you about. It'll be like something fucking from
Yeah.
weeks
Something
ago,
wild.
something random, like he wants to buy a car wash, or something.
We
of
have plans
that
for a car wash.
So yeah, he's very random. He's kind of gotten to the point where he just like dismisses, like if I'm crying, he's like, oh. It's all right.
He's hilarious, you
He's like,
guys.
should be okay.
He
Just
is
let
so
her get it
funny.
out. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I like it. I think that it's good, right? That y'all kind of are opposites in a sense in that, because
Yeah.
then when you're very emotional or high strung, then it can kind of ease the moment just a little bit. So I think it's really good. What I think is super powerful is how y'all co-parent with Azita.
Yeah.
Azita's amazing, by the way. But I like it because it's so interesting because you don't see that very often in like in a divorce situation type of vibe. Honestly, it gives a little bit of sister wives, but in like a cool way, not like they're real sister wives.
That's what everybody wishes. That's what everybody thinks. They actually, in fact, think that I'm only with Mark so that I can get with Azita. Is what the
I
speculation
mean, she is
is.
hot.
She's a beautiful woman, but why would
I'm
I
keeping
put
my
up
mouth
with this
shut.
for so long? No way.
No, but I think that's amazing that y'all co-parent together, because if you think about it, it's child-centered, right? Like if you think about it, because when you are thinking about children and you're thinking about like decisions, sometimes the ex-wives and the current wife, right, don't get together and vibe as well. And y'all vibe very, very well. And
Right.
it's very interesting. I mean, me and Kylie, the first time we experienced it, we're like, oh, this is a little weird, because it's not what you normally see. It's not normal to, like, you're vibing and you're like, oh, that's his ex-wife. Oh, wow, she's invited.
And she's like holding Juliette.
Yeah,
Making
no,
it
it's-
late for
helpful.
somebody.
It's
Yeah.
really amazing.
Yeah.
So it really does see that it was a child-centered type of vibe
Yeah.
for y'all to focus on the children, which is really good. And I think that y'all like it. And then obviously that you have accepted his sons as your children, and the way that you speak about it and stuff is also very powerful. She says, my kids. She was like, I have 4 kids. And so I think that's really nice. As a stepmom, I mean mom, right?
Bonus mama.
Bonus mom for that. But I just wanted to share with y'all because I like that.
That's cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually am blessed in that way. I take it for granted. I don't think I think I forget about that. I take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah. It does, yeah.
I'm just gonna clip all of his random facial expressions
He's
where
so
he
funny.
ends something and he
Yeah.
goes, yeah.
His episode should just be like, Mark.
He like looks over at Cindy
He
for
does.
like reassurance.
He
Like,
does.
am I done?
It's like,
Yeah.
Cindy, did I do good?
Did I do good?
it.
Yep.
Yeah, especially like at dinners. Like we'll go to like family dinners. Like it was Vance's birthday recently, and so we all went to like a nice steakhouse and sat down and we were celebrating his birthday. And they're like,
Oh,
so,
wait.
what's the dynamic here? And Mark would be like, well, she's my ex-wife and she's my wife. and they're like, the reaction's always, oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think it's just not normalized to see a relationship like that, but I think it's really cool.
Me too.
I remember going to the prep school like event. It was like the football thing or something, and I'm showing up with these
Two
two
beautiful moms.
smoking hot moms. Or, like, you're way hotter, but you know what I mean. Okay. But you know what I mean.
I know
I'm
what you
just saying,
mean.
and it was funny because all the other dudes are like,
Oh my god!
and then they're like, oh, who are these women with? And then they both sat next to me, and they're like,
Wow.
damn.
I bet you were like walking chest up and stuff.
I was like, yeah, it's cool, you know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No,
Macho man.
These are my
That's
women.
how he
I was
feels.
like, I'm the only bitch here. Don't worry. I'm the real bitch. Don't worry.
These are my women. I cannot.
So let's see about some of these questions. What's your favorite part of your marriage?
Oh yeah.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah,
You.
this is your episode, baby.
What's your favorite
We
part?
were talking about Paige. Oh shit. Okay.
Her soft
That's
interior.
I mean, that's just
the physical part is amazing, but that's not. I mean, no, she's beautiful. She's
Yeah.
hot. She's
Man
She's
ever.
fun to wrestle naked with. But
but other than that, he has an
other
answer.
than the obvious,
right.
I love them.
I think seeing Paige as a mom and how, I mean, I think that was, I remember when we were dating and you had that, we went out to the park and we walked Dylan and you made me cry a little bit. You know, grown men don't cry.
I didn't make you
I remember
cry.
crying then and when the Mavs won in 2011. Those are the two times I remember crying. But
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't make you cry. Dylan made you cry.
yeah, he was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He was like, he's like, well, I just hope I get to see Paige again. I hope she's like around more. Like, I don't know, you guys get serious or something because she's just, I don't know. He was kind of like, he's like, yeah, and
That's sweet.
so it was just really sweet, and so just the way she's treated my kids and just seeing her as a mom, and also I think. I mean, we even talk about this. I saw a funny TikTok about this. It's like, oh, we still like each other. Like when we went to date, like when we get to actually do things alone, it's like, oh shit, like
we do like
actually
each
have
other.
fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's right, because we kind of like get on each other's nerves when we have two
Yeah.
demons pulling at our
They're not demons.
two lovely, sweet demons pulling at our soul all the time. It's like, yeah, I can get stressful, but like when we actually go out and do something, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. We like have fun together. Like we're actually
I get it.
funny. And Paige is very she's fun. I mean, she's funny. I think she has a sense of humor. So even when I annoy her, she kind of laughs at me and with me.
So funny.
And even when I annoy her when I do
When he
impromptu
sings.
karaoke. How did you know I was going to say that? Oh,
I
it annoys
literally
the
know.
hell out of her when I sing, and I can't stop because like I'll get on it's not even like I'm trying to actively annoy her. It's like I get
Yes,
on
you
this
are.
shtick, and it's like it's stuck in my head, and it's like it'll usually be a song, but it'll be something I changed up the words to be like funny, and she does not. Like I think I'm Weird Al, and she's just not. You don't even know who Weird Al is, do you?
Yeah, we do.
Okay,
We
that's
do.
you youngins. Okay, anyway. So,
You're older than us.
Excuse me? I'm in my late 20s.
Yeah, Jay's he's like Gen Z, Gen Y. Gen Z.
Exactly.
What are
Thank
we
you. Thank
talking
you so
about?
much.
Boomer.
Oh my
I'm like
God.
literally the second oldest.
Oh, Mark's here now, so he's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Thank God. I was the oldest before
But
Marco.
Yes. Good answers. She's a sweetie.
Yes.
So sweet.
You have any more questions?
One more.
Okay.
Same question to you.
My favorite part of my marriage?
Aw, cute.
Oh gosh, my favorite part of my marriage. I don't know if I want to blow his
Besides,
head
of
up.
course, the obvious and
The
stuff.
obvious.
Yeah,
Obviously,
totes.
his soft interior.
Or the hard out terrier. I don't know.
One of the two. I feel grateful to be in a marriage where I get to experience life in a soft way and in a way that I'm very understood. It can be hard to mentally be mean to myself all the time and to want so desperately to get out of it. And to not be able to, and instead of having a partner that looks at me like it's such a burden that I can't get out of this, he's a cheerleader. He's very much my biggest fan and is constantly rooting me on. And it doesn't seem like you know, I have told him to turn off his favorite shows or his favorite movies, or because it's upsetting me, and where it would be an inconvenience to other people and it would just be annoying. Like, why can't you just fix this? You know, he doesn't do that. It's more like, what can we do to help you get through it? So I like that because he offers me patience and kindness. And where I've been in a marriage before that didn't have that same extensions, it's nice now to know that that exists.
I love that.
Me too.
I love that. And then you mentioned, I think it was you who talked.
You
talked
can't even
about
look
when
at
y'all
Mark without laughing.
his facial expressions are the best. When y'all went to Vegas and spending that quality time, right? And y'all are like, okay, I think that's so important in a relationship, right? To make sure that, because kids can overtake your life and your day to day, and it can get so busy. But I think as parents, if you have a significant other, you have to take time to make each other feel special, remind yourselves of why y'all like each other, do the nasties, and just that too, because, you know, and pour into yourselves, because if y'all are upset with each other, it's going to trickle onto the kids, right? Like if you are fighting, you are upset, you're overwhelmed, and that trickles onto the kids. And so I think it's good that hopefully y'all continue that and prioritize yourself, because then obviously you'll be happier.
We had fun in Vegas.
Vegas was amazing. Vegas was amazing. And it was really nice to all of us hang out.
We lost, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, in case you haven't tuned in.
I didn't know.
I didn't think I was going to win anyway. So.
No, we didn't. But I did think Jay was
I
going
did.
to win.
Kyler was a little bit. I always thought Kyler was nice. But
Kyler was
he was
fun.
a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Kyler was a good time.
They don't get to hang out with Kyler a lot, though. Kyler is a good time.
Yeah, no, he's fun. I mean, I just didn't know him as much before. That's all.
Yeah, I think it was a really fun trip for us to go because we all hang out all the time
With our kids.
But imagine,
With
so
our kids.
how many of us are there? We're 7.
3,
So no, wait, you're
Can I
7,
just
12.
say, oh my God, dude, you're kidding.
14.
So we're
Because I'm
14.
always like at first I get nervous, and it's me. But it's like, oh my God, all these kids, what are we gonna do? Dude, his kids are like children. They're like playing with Boston, like washing the dishes, and like teaching Juliette like Mandarin. I'm like, holy shit, dude, these kids are legit. I'm like, damn. I'm like, y'all can come over anytime. Like, holy.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. We have 16 children between all of us.
Yeah, so it's interesting when we go out to eat at restaurants. First of all, we have to be very careful of what restaurant we pick, because it's not like it's like easy to get a table of 16. But it's so nice when we're all together with our children, because they vibe, we vibe, and it's really nice. But it's hard in a sense, so like, you know, he mentioned he doesn't know Kyler very well, or because when we're all together, the tables are huge, and so we have to divide as parents. So like one dad's over here, one dad's over here, and we have like 4 kids in between each other to try to make sure that we don't live up to people's expectation, what they think of children, you know, when they're at restaurants and stuff. And so when we were in Vegas, it was nice to just hang out,
be at the same table,
be adults, and just be able to talk. It was
like, oh, everyone is like a real human with a personality. We're not all just like
robots.
Robotic parents.
I thought Mark was super funny before Vegas, and after Vegas, I mean, I was like, this is
so
freaking
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's amazing. But Mark, do you have any dad jokes you can share with us? Because you seem like a dad joke type of guy.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't prepare for this
I'm trying to
moment.
think of, what do you call a fish with no eyes?
Hilarious.
I'm sure you get these a lot.
Funny. I'm dying inside to get
And I don't know if y'all know
laughter.
this, but we're going to have a musical performance by Mark to close out the episode. Paige did not know this. And I'm just kidding.
I was like, dude, I'm down.
Well, thank you, Jay, for being here with us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay,
All right, Mark, thank you so much for being here today. Happy Father's Day.
Thank
you.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you're following along. And as always, keep those giggles going.
And the love flowing.
And until next time, Mom knows best.
Or at least she's trying her best.
And dads do too.
That's
Dads
right.
do too.
They do.
Good job, baby.
Thanks, Dad. Bye.